The purpose of it is to keep ISBs on Earth indefinitely, preventing them from accessing their full potential and returning to their home planets. There are so many different races and species here that maybe there is some type of creator all across. So we're going to talk about this prison planet theory and some stuff and information that I have that we will discuss tonight, and we'll get into some a lot of things and everything else. All right, so what we're going to be talking about, it's going to be from this particular book. This hadn't been surfaced around. I'll go into it a little bit, but it also goes into Earth being a prison planet. Or do we have what they consider a soul net? So I'm going to get into that right about now. And it all goes down to the fact of our souls. And we can always talk about being reincarnated. We can talk about, at this point, are we here? Or do we have past lives and all of those things? And the question could be why? Why do we have past lives? Why are we still continue to come back? If you think about the world's population, and you think about if we're coming back and being reincarnated or whatever the correct pronunciation, then we should have a stabilized population. But at some point, we got a population growth. We have an explosion. And so my question for me is, if there's some type of explosion, where are all these, and we're being reincarnated, where are all these new souls coming from? Well, I got a theory here, a hypothesis that we're going to talk about tonight, that our planet is being fed those souls. We have a entity or people that are dropping these souls off, and this is a prison planet. Now we can think about it, because what happens when we look at today, we have all these innocent people who say they live a righteous life and all of these things. But according to this book right here, by an alien who was interviewed and who was captured quite some time ago, that this is a prison planet, and all the souls here are some type of criminalistic way. Okay, I know. Okay, I'm not calling you a criminal, but according to what we're going to talk about tonight, that all of the bad people are dropped off here on Earth. So if I'm thinking about my pastor, who I go to church here, or when I did go to church, was over here in Dallas. I wouldn't see him as being a criminal, or anything like that. Or even some folks that I know, period. There's some good people out here. Or maybe we're in some type of rehabilitation and all of that. So now, how do we get here? Let me get into some of my notes so we can get down into this. But first of all, have any of you heard that? Have any of you heard that Earth could possibly be a prison planet, or some type of soul net that's capturing our souls, which keep us from, when we pass on, getting out into the galactic? Now, supposedly some of the wealthy and super elite knows about this, and they're trying to get off the planet so that their lives could be free of this and coming back. I've think this. Okay, so Nursing the Paranormal said, yes, she's heard that before. All right, so yeah, and so I'm saying to you, those are things that you have to look into and make a determination. Now, how do we get here? First of all, according to the book that a few of me and the researchers have been studying for the last 6 months, it is a profound book, but it has a lot of information, and I think there's been a lot of different things made from it. But initially saying that they call it the domain. The domain initially established the presence here on Earth about 8,200 years ago. And how did they do that? Was that they set up a base in the Himalayas near the border of modern Pakistan and Afghanistan, inside a hollowed out mountaintop. So this is supposedly the history. Now, where did this come from? Well, apparently, like I said, there was an alien named Ariel who took a feminine personality that was captured back in 1947. Now, apparently, she was interviewed and was held here for quite some time, and began to take a liking to a particular person named Matilda. she began to be the only person that the alien would talk to, who began to tell us all of things about Earth, the creation, companies. This is a young planet, and went on to say how Earth at some point was set up by all of these corporations and businesses. And so that the literal thought of business and things that we're doing every day has been around the galaxy for quite some time. So it's nothing pretty new when it comes down to this. And so, like I said, we're going to go into some of this tonight, and I got a lot of different talking points just to throw at you so that you can do that. And then by the time we get through, I'll give you the actual book. You can go look it up, or maybe not, because I think it's really deep, and it'll really be a little deep for a lot of people when it comes down to, especially in religion, because it definitely goes back to articulate how we got here, what design, how we were made by design. And it kind of contradicts some of the Anunnaki stories that we've heard. Of course, definitely the biblical stories that we've heard, all the way down to the fact that we were designed, brought here by all these different companies, and different people have, depending on how wealthy they are, they can create things that we see here on Earth. So all of these different pieces of what we see, someone else dropped them off and said, okay, we're going to put this in there. Anyway, so they said the base was staffed by a battalion of 3,000 members from what they call the Domain Expeditionary Force. And so there was some type of force here called the Domain. Now, the base remained undetected by humans until it was attacked by a remnant of military force, what they call the Old Empire. So according to these documents and according to the books itself, it is saying that at some point there was a war between two different civilizations, the old empire versus the Domain, and Earth was the prize. Now we can go back to biblical things when I'm thinking about it, that we say there was the angels in heaven, there was a battle between all of that. And so it kind of ties into some of the things that we've heard, but how do we link the dots of what's to be the truths? And so at this point, we're going to question everything. We're going to question the narrative and see how we put these things together. All right, so another part of this is they're saying that the old empire was older and it defeated the civilization in the galaxy that previously occupied Earth. So at some point, now, why can't we not put the possibility of what I'm sharing with you have some coincidences in it? Because Earth is so young. When you want to date back to human civilization, it's not as far back as some of the stories we're going to be talking about that the extraterrestrial alien talked about. And I've also alluded to many things before from this particular book of how the alien said that there was a key on Earth that they put here for us humans to find, discover, and realize that we were genetically made and not coming from the stories that we've heard. So they were saying that the old empire was older and the domain the domain base was wiped out in the ISBs. Okay, so the ISBs is a terminology, and I'll get into that acronym for you. But in other words, this particular force was captured. Now, another part was that the domain has intervened in the history of Earth and multiple times to protect its resources and interests. Now, we do have this story that surfaced that there is some type of Galactic Federation. So it doesn't surprise me that I'm going to tie in some stuff. And like I said, this particular book has been coveted among some of the theorists for quite some time, because it is not something that I don't think a lot of us has chose to talk about, because there is some stuff in here. And I think a lot of people will be encouraged to read, but it also ties into modern day stuff. And it's pretty interesting. And like I said, we were going to do a lot. So all of us, so I got a copy for our whole team some months back and sent everybody a copy. I said, listen, we need to read this, look at this. Do we want to talk about it? Do we want to put this into our content? All right. So anyway, they were saying about 1,500 years ago, the domain began installing basics along the path of its invasion toward the center of the galaxy. So this is quite some time ago. And it also said that about 8,200 years ago, the domain set up a base, and like I said before, in the Himalayan mountains near the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan. And it's kind of weird because we get a lot of stuff that wars and different things are coming from that area. Afghanistan has also been known where we see giants, or people are still saying that there's giants walking among there. So there's so many different stories. And it's one of those deals. All right, so let me look in the chat. Someone says this is actually a fairly deep topic. Yeah, okay. I thought you were going to say, I thought I saw someone said fairy tale. But yeah, okay. So we're going to get into some stuff here and follow along with me, because this is going to be a good one tonight for us to go into. Now, the domain, like they said, about 1,500 years ago, there was let me go back here. About 1,500 years BCE, the domain attempted to teach the concept of individual, immortal, spiritual beings to several influential beings here on Earth. Now, between 1,500 BC and 1,200 BCE, the domain forces waged a battle against the old empire through religious conquest. So if you start seeing some of this and hearing where I'm going with this, so I'm giving you what this alien actually told, and someone written it and they sent it to a gentleman. It leaked out of the government, and this particular interview leaked out. So the alien is saying that there was a lot of mind control. I'm going to get into all of that. There was a whole lot of things when it gets down to us being a prison planet. Now, they also said in 5009-65 BCE, the domain discovered that old empire bases on Mars and elsewhere and took over the planet Venus as a defensive position. So this is all breaking out that there was some galactic war prior to our being, or how we became where we are within existence. Now, how many times have we heard these stories? We've heard them all the time. And why would there be some presence of Galactic Federation protecting Earth? Why would Earth be that particular, out of all the galactic places, be a place to do? Now, what you're going to hear is the alien talk about why extraterrestrials don't live here on Earth, because our planet is unstable. Now, we talk about it through global warming. We talk about it through all of our resources and natural resources being used. They're actually saying, and we're getting into this tonight, that there is a lot of reasons why they don't occupy Earth the way we do. And we would think, what is such a beautiful remote place? They're saying, no, this is trash. Earth is trash. And so it's one of those things. So you can't tell me that if that was why we are here, why is it indoctrinated in every freaking religion that we have? None of it is saying continue to do life and be life as you are. You have to, get your soul in order, right? All right, maybe I'm just tying that in. So it also says that the purpose of this prison system that we're in is to keep ISBs on Earth indefinitely, preventing them from accessing their full potential and returning to their home planets. All right, so now that could be where all of a sudden that we can think that the fact that there are so many different races and species here, that maybe there is some type of creator all across. Obviously, the blueprint is the same. We can see that the blueprint is the same throughout everyone, and when I say this is no matter if it's a fucking fish, a bird, snake, whatever, something has said that we're going to have two eyes, a mouth, some nose, and some ears in some cases. And, and that seems to be the working blueprint. So from animals to humans to, like I said, birds, rats, mice, even the things that we think is horrible, monkeys, whatever you want to talk about, the blueprint is the same. That's undeniable. Something says two eyes, a nose, and a mouth works. And all of a sudden we all are created. Okay, God did that. All right, so we can go into that on a religious spectrum, but at the end of the day, someone says this particular. Now, give you a hint in this particular book, the extraterrestrial said, hey, and I've said this before on our show on many occasions, there is an animal that walks this planet right now that defies all logic of breeding possibilities. And the fact that this animal exists is a key in logic for us to understand that the fact that we was not made by Adam and Eve and all of the stories that we've heard. because of the existence of this animal and the way it looks and crossed with, it is virtually impossible for whatever it's been crossed with to become what it is and what we know what it is today. And I know you waiting and said, what the hell is it? If you don't know what it is, I know some of y'all know, because if you watch this show long enough, I brought this animal up on several occasions, and not one of us have been able to have the explanation of how it exists in the way that it does, but yet it walks the planet that we walk on today. Where I'm going with this is the fact that the prison system so back up for a minute, it accessing their full potential. Someone said octopus, dragon. Y'all go ahead, throw it in there. I'll confirm it in just a second what you think I'm talking about. But they're saying that our full potential. And once again, what is it that we all are told today? That we have to meditate. We have to get into this conscious spirit so that we all can be this divine spirit and whatever it is. And according to what all of us will do, and you can't tell me there's a person out there who have not took a penny and put it in their pocket. I'm saying a little copper penny, picked something up on the ground, maybe found something that wasn't theirs, maybe thought something they should have thought. Just because you didn't say it doesn't mean it wasn't a criminal ideal in your mind, because you didn't speak it out loud. There's a lot of people you say, I'll kill that MF if they don't, or whatever. So maybe it's in all of us that there are some negative type of things to why we're here. But if this is the objective of the old empire for humans and the souls that are here, and like I said, and maybe we all consider and give it some thought. How is it that we're thinking that this is a prison planet and that everybody here is some freaking criminal of some type? And like I said, who actually can be profound innocent of anything today? I mean, you can raise your hand. And I'm thinking there's a lot of people walking around feeling that they are holier than thou, or they are now totally the good of good. And I'm not saying what we determine is a criminal, whether it's a steal, whether it's somebody done hurt somebody, shot somebody. What if the one smallest thing is a criminal as a spirit being? A spirit being supposedly be here, but maybe you had a bad thought. Maybe you said something negative about somebody. Maybe you said something different about this person. Maybe when somebody was walking, you just looked at them and said, there's some ugly ass shoes in your thought. Maybe that is too much to not be criminalistic in a spiritual world, right? So we don't know that, but once again, we all are sitting here every day trying to, and been told through every books of religion to improve and make sure your soul is not wherever at some point, which also could be the objective that they think. What if our soul reaches ascension that people talk about in the conscious community, where we are free? Maybe we are pardoned off this planet, and that is the reminiscence of heaven. And the fact that we keep coming back here could be the reminiscence of hell, or you're going to burn in hell, but really burning in hell is our everyday life where we are. And maybe that's what they're talking about and why we keep being here. I don't know. I'm just throwing all kind of possibilities, but I got an educated audience. You guys are all there, so you can throw some ideas here as we go. But let's get down. We got a lot more to go. I got a lot more to throw at you tonight. We talking about your souls. The fact that this is a prison planet and that we're trapped here, and that this is a place where all the these spirit beings are sent here because got issues. And immortal. So the immortal, of course, meaning we live forever. So that is something that we want to do from that standpoint, right? That is something that we want to put some stuff together. All right. Y'all do want to hear it. All right. So let's go from this. Number one. It says that, let me go. All right. So the ethical and scientific principles for transcending Earth limitations. Number one, she says recognition of the importance of the spirit. Now, this is the alien saying to us, the scientific paradigm that focus solely on energy and objects in motion through space is incomplete. Human efforts to transcend Earth limitations must acknowledge the power of the spirit and its role in creating and sustaining existence. I don't know what that means. Okay. And maybe you do. And maybe we could tell each other what that means. But I don't know, and I'm not going to claim to know. And if you want to go that route, we could. But at the end of the day, it's just saying. So I'm going to read that again. All right. Some other people are saying some stuff that y'all know. So it's saying that the recognition of importance of the spirit, the scientific paradigm that focus solely on energy and objects in motion through space is incomplete, and human efforts to transcend Earth limitation must acknowledge the power of the spirit and its role in creating, sustaining existence. All right. Now, are you there? Are you there personally? Because otherwise you're going to be back here again. And there's 10 of them. And I don't want to know if anybody out here is going to check the box that you are where you need to be in all of these areas that I'm going to be talking about. Or I would love to hear somebody raise their hand and say, I'm there. Get the whatever. The next is commitment to nonviolence and social responsibility. So the scientific advancements must not be pursued at the cost of social and humanitarian concerns. The greatest scientific minds should address the fundamental social and ethical challenges that threaten humanity's future, such as war, poverty, and environmental degradation. All right, who's there? Who's there? Okay. I'm going to read the next one. Prioritization of corporation over competition. Humanity must rise above its selfish nature and work together and find effective solutions to challenge facing our planet. Corporation and collaboration rather than competition and conflict should guide our collective effort. What the hell? So even on the smallest notes, that's not a person out here who has been told not to compete with somebody else. You got to beat them all. You got to be the best at it. Competition is in our nature, damn near. When you was a baby, when there was a bottle in front of two kids and the bottle was just a bottle until one of the babies said one of them had to have it, right? Now it's a war for it. I'm saying maybe they're not talking about that on a grander scale here, but prioritization of corporation over competition. How many of us right now are in more corporation mode than we are in competition mode? Whether businesses is done that way, wealth is done that way, and a job is done that way, in houses is done that way, in relationships is done that way. Who does that? All right. Maybe that's why we ground. Maybe that's why you're told to go out there and put your feet in the grass. But humans are not separate from nature, but also an intricate part of the ecosystem. And scientific advancements must be guided by a deep respect for the natural world and commitment to preserving its delicate balance. What if we're all supposed to be cremated versus buried? Maybe our bones and dust and whatever, or our body's supposed to be placed right in the natural dirt. And then we feeding the planet back stuff that it gave us to be born, right? Remember how we're made? But we don't do that. Everybody's in coffins and all of this stuff. I'm just saying, at death, do we give our bodies back to nature? If that's where we're supposed to be a harmony. This is something to think about. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'll take the criticism. I'm just telling you what it is, but I'm trying to seek the answers too. But what is your thoughts when it comes down to this? Or are we now in that particular perspective of our minds that the fact that we're supposed to be, ashes to ashes, dirt, whatever. But I'm saying, do we supposed to be returned to the planet? Everything else does. We typically don't put dogs in coffins, or maybe the fish dies and turned into food and it dissolves out there into the middle of nowhere. Something dies in the wilderness. They're not burying it. The other animals eat it and nutrient, and then the other nutrients falls into the earth. It turns into dirt. We're the only ones that says, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to also create a business that we're going to make money selling boxes so that people can put themselves in the box. Could we be wrong? Could we're not doing the right thing? I don't know. What do y'all think? I'm just asking. It says respect for the natural world. Humans are not separate from nature, but as an integral part of the ecosystem. Scientific advancements must be guided by deep respect for natural world and commitment to preserving its delicate balance. We hear it in everything. There's supposed to be this zen of balance. So anybody check the box for that? Are you there? Or have you already checked that you're a prioritization of corporation over competition? Are you committed to nonviolence and social responsibility? I don't know about it. Everybody can't say that you're, how many of you have said anything about anybody, anything, posted anything, or maybe replied to something? Maybe, we're talking social. I'm just using social media, but what? Just in the everyday life, you looked over in church and Sister Jones' hat was too big, or the pastor said something that you didn't like. Oh, he may be crazy, or the husband and wife over here is sleeping around. Are we just ignoring those things and saying, hey, I'm not judging, I'm not going to judge him? Which means you could be in a relationship with a cheater and you got to let it go, because you can't. Why judge? I'm just saying, are you ready? Are you there? And if you're not there, then you're going to be here for a long time. The next one is avoidance of dogmatism and openness to new knowledge. Scientific inquiry should not be confined by dogma or rigid beliefs. Scientists must be open to new knowledge and perspectives, even those that challenge their existing understanding. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I used to watch him in the master class. And one of the things that stood out to me the most, he talks about dealing with people, that you want to stay away from people who their ideology can't be or can't evolve, or their thoughts can't evolve. And what he meant by that was, let's say you have a person, and there's a lot of you like this, and I'm not pointing fingers at you, but if these fingers can touch you and you feel them, then I could be talking about you. But I'm not, because I'm trying to get better. I got social responsibility here. But yet our souls are here and we're on this planet, prison planet. We just may be or whatever. But he talks about that the fact that when we talk about things, or a person that, let's say all your life you have been told that something was true, and then all of a sudden you come to the knowledge of something that you've been told all your life was true, but it's not true, and you're able to conform to the fact that what you've been told all your life is not true, that is now true, that you're able to have a stable conversation about it, and vice versa. Something that you were told that was not true all of your life, and all of a sudden through research and data and information that you're found that this is now true. Could you do this? And think about people you've been in a relationship with. It's a lot of people you could have been in a relationship with and have and still is and might be, cannot go from point A to point B, not because there's barriers, and maybe it's religious barriers, and that is the number one break in things, or what we call handcuffs and bondage that keeps people from evolving, because the religious dogma doesn't allow you to then seek truth. Now, we're a whole community of truth seekers. And if you're a Christian, you can be what I call a curious Christian. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying at the end of the day, we have situational things here that keep people from evolving through new information, because based upon the stringent. Now, what does the Bible tells us? It says, bring up a child in a certain way, so to speak, and he's going to stay that way. So you need to keep him bedded. But what if that stuff was wrong? What if some of the things that the teachings were wrong in the spiritual world, so to speak? All right, I'll get out of that. I'm going to get out of that. So another one is empathy for the suffering of others. Bullshit. If everybody said they go by this. Ethical considerations should not extend beyond humans to encompass all sentient beings. And scientific advancements should be directed towards alleviating the suffering and improving the well-being of all creatures. We can stop right there, although there's 4 or 5 more, and I will continue because you just want to hear it. But how many of you can check that box that you have empathy for suffering of others? Don't say you do, because there is a limitation to everybody's empathy. I know it to be a fact. Okay, there is a limitation, because we all are limited. We will help people until to a point where we won't help them anymore because we feel that we didn't help them enough. But it's saying here that we got to continue at some point. And we're talking everything, not just that individual, but all these different people. We got that right now. We got poor people, rich people, we got middle class people, and we all are segmented that way financially today. We have resources for these people, and we got people fighting against limiting their resources because they don't deserve it, because they ain't working. We got people, and why should we worry about the people that don't work, that do work, and because we're working, and then we don't want them to have a free ride? But should we worry about that? But the aliens are saying, in order for our souls to leave this prison planet, some of that stuff we got to give some thought to. And I'm just touching on a small surface. I can't even begin to comprehend all the things that they're talking about anyway. I'm just throwing some shit out there based on my limited perspective, right? However, as we continue, do you have ethical considerations? That's a question. I want to see y'all check this particular box. Put it out there. If you say to yourself that you can go and get your soul off this planet because you have empathy for the suffering of others, ethical considerations should extend beyond human encompass of all sentient beings, okay? And scientific advancements should be directed towards alleviating the suffering and improving the well-being in all creatures. And here's the funny part about this. We've seen it in movies. What was Avatar all about? When they went over to wherever the planet where they plug into the tree of life and all the animals, and then at least when they killed something, they prayed over and says, "Thank you, brother, for giving me." You know, could imagine somebody trap my ass and then tell my big ass and be like, "Oh, we're just gonna bless you, and I'm still alive. We're gonna bless the world for you getting ready to feed a whole tribe." Really, y'all can starve. I'm not there, but I'm saying in Avatar, that was the whole premise, is that everything was connected. Remember, the whole planet, the whole ecosystem, from the plants, everything was connected and everything nourished each other. And that was the whole thing she was trying to teach the dude, right?